Hi and welcome to my channel. So in December of 2022, the UK government announced that they're going to be recruiting more teachers from overseas, which basically means that they're going to be giving more visas for people to come to the UK and work as teachers. This was an amazing announcement. And so in this video, I'm going to be telling you how to get a job in the UK as a teacher, to get a teaching job in the UK without necessarily having qualified teacher status. So qualified teacher status just means that you're a professional teacher in the UK. So it is a process that can be very long and time consuming. So look, with a good opportunity like this, you don't want to waste so much time trying to go through processes if you don't need to. So like I said, I'm going to be telling you how to get a job in the UK as a teacher without getting the qualified teacher status, wasting a lot of time rather than taking advantage of such a great opportunity here and now before the whole thing gets saturated. So you're welcome to my channel. If you're new here, it's a privilege to have you. If you're a returning subscriber, obviously I appreciate the time you take to watch these videos, and I do hope that you're implementing, because as you know, I'm all about implementation. So my name is Melvis. I currently work as an advanced nurse practitioner. So I do have a private coaching service where I support nurses, carers, student nurses, students with career progression in the UK. So if you're looking for the best visa sponsorship jobs, non-clinical healthcare jobs, I'm your girl when it comes to healthcare. But I'm very keen to share all these other opportunities that are good in the UK, these ideas that you may not know, and other ways that you can actually take to make sure that you don't only get to the UK, but you actually thrive when you get to this beautiful country. So obviously you're welcome. I want you to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification button, because you 100% want to be the first to be notified when I drop a new video on here. And actually, before I get started, if you check the comment section below, you're going to see a link to my newsletter. If you join that newsletter, then obviously when there's important information such as this, I send it directly to your inbox, because look, I don't want you relying on the YouTube algorithm to get such vital information that is so life-changing, so career-changing for you and for your future. Just to put this into context, this information I'm going to be sharing in this video, I already sent it a few days ago to people that are part of my newsletter, which means that when there's any change, anything, I send you the direct link, send you all of the full information, all the websites that you need to make sure that you're up to date, right on time, and you're the first person to take advantage of those opportunities. So all you need to do is check the comment section. It's just your name and your email. That's all it is. And then you're going to be part of that newsletter. Also, if I've got live sessions coming up, anything else, you're keen on my private coaching program, check the bio section, obviously, of my YouTube channel. You'll see a link to join, and then I can support you, obviously, with that journey, with that process, whether you're already in the UK or not. But most importantly, if you're in the UK, I'm very keen on career progression. Because I always say, yes, it's good that, you're in the UK, but what next? What do you want to do with yourself? You need to be progressing, you need to be excelling, you need to be moving to the next stage rather than being stuck. So let's get started. With regards to these teaching jobs, there are so many vacancies. There are thousands of vacancies. The UK government had promised that they were going to make sure that they recruit more people into teaching. But unfortunately, they missed their target. They were only at about 70 to 80% of the target that they had set themselves. And that is what led, to the government deciding to recruit from overseas. Because as you know, I'm very much into policies. It is the policies that actually drive, the actions that the government is taking. Because as they were not able to kind of meet up with the promise, they've had to look overseas. So this is a wonderful opportunity for teachers who are overseas that want to come work in the UK. So qualified teacher status, this is something that there's been quite a lot of. People are like, oh my God, how do I get qualified teacher status? The truth is, the government itself has said that you don't need qualified teacher status to move to the UK and work as a teacher. And even if you're already in the UK and want to get into teaching, you do not need qualified teacher status. So what is this? Qualified teacher status means that, for example, you trained overseas, let's say in Nigeria, for example, you trained in Nigeria, you're a teacher in Nigeria, and you want to move to the UK. So while you're still in Nigeria, you can apply. There are about 4 different ways that you can apply for qualified teacher status. So you can apply so that they can recognize you as a qualified professional teacher in the UK before you start looking for jobs. Look, this is going to be a long process. And what I always say is when there's a new pathway like this, you want to be the first person to take advantage of it. Because the truth is, today, right now, if you apply for teaching jobs in the UK, you're going to be in the best position to get a job. It's going to be a lot easier than people that are going to be applying in 3 months' time, or people that are going to be applying in 6 months time, or worse still, people are going to be applying next year in 2024. So that's why I'm doing this. And if you're watching this video, it is not a coincidence. You need to apply ASAP. You don't need, like the government has said, you don't need to have qualified teacher status to apply for jobs in the UK, even if you trained overseas. Because what the law says is that in government schools, so if you're teaching in a government school, you have up to 4 years to apply for qualified teacher status, which means that as you're getting a job initially in a government school, it is not a legal requirement for you to have qualified teacher status, which means if you want to apply for those teaching jobs, you can apply directly to that school, without having any formal qualified teacher status. So that is something that is very important. It is vital. You need to make sure that you take note of that. You can apply directly. So if you get a job in a government school, obviously you're going to have 4 years for you to apply for qualified teacher status, which means after 4 years, it becomes a legal requirement in government schools to have qualified teacher status. Again, if you want to check whether the government, the school is a government school or it's a private school, it's an academy, it's quite easy to do that, because there are, list of that. You can also check the school's website. They'll be able to say that. And so you don't need to waste time applying for things that you don't need, because the truth is, if it takes you 6 months, for example, to get qualified teacher status while you're still out of the UK, once you get it, you then start applying for jobs. It's going to be a long process, because schools are currently desperate, to recruit overseas candidates, which means that if you're applying now, you have higher chances of getting a job than if you apply in 6 months' time. So if you're waiting until your qualified teacher status comes out, look, you're making a big mistake. So by the way, if you're enjoying this content, I want you to just hit that like button. It lets me know that you're enjoying content like this and I should do more. Also share this with your fellow friends, colleagues, family members, everybody that is a teacher or keen on coming to the UK as a teacher, because they don't need to be a professional teacher to move to the UK. You can move to the UK first, and then while you're here, if you need to go back to uni, if you need to, apply for qualified teacher status, if you've already got your teaching qualifications from overseas, then you've got 4 years to do that. But look, it gets even more interesting. If you are not in a government school, which means that you're in a private school or in an academy, for example, or a free school, qualified teacher status is never actually a requirement, which means you could teach there for the rest of your career. You could teach there for your entire career without ever needing the qualified teacher status. Again, I'm stressing on this because I don't want you stressing out, spending a lot of time trying to find out information for things that you don't actually need. Yes, the government has said that it is helpful to have qualified teacher status, but it is not mandatory. They have also said that it is helpful to have experience, which means experience in teaching is not mandatory, but it is helpful to have experience. You need to interpret these words very carefully. When the government says it is helpful to have something, it means that it is not mandatory to have it, which means it's not compulsory. So again, you don't want to waste a lot of time trying to get things that, you can move to the UK first. Even if you're already in the UK and you're keen, this is the perfect time. And look, I'm going to tell you one tip. If you're already in the UK and you choose certain subjects, or even if you're out of the UK and you get here, there are some subjects that if you choose to teach, then obviously you're going to have apprenticeships where you can then train through that pathway to get qualified teacher status, to become a professional teacher in the UK. These are mainly science subjects. The reason for the, subjects are maths, chemistry, many people in the UK don't get into these subjects because obviously they're tougher, they're more difficult. If you want to teach subjects such as English, history, those ones are a lot easier, which means that if you're looking for jobs, you need to be very strategic. You need to be very wise. You need to be very smart. Which type of school are you looking for? Because on the government website, they have said that if you're a teacher overseas and you want to move to the UK, you need to decide what type of teaching do you want to do? What age group do you want? You've got primary schools, you've got secondary schools, you've got high schools. Who do you want to teach? And then what do you want to teach? So those are things that you need to think about, and you need to be strategic. Because if you're a teacher, for example, or if you want to teach, say, a subject like English, moving to the UK, how easy is it going to be to get a job if you're overseas in the UK, obviously, as an English teacher? It's not going to be easy because, it's obvious that there are going to be more people in the UK that can teach English or that would be willing to teach English. But if you're overseas and you're coming to teach a subject like chemistry, like biology, like mathematics, look, they're desperate for teachers in that sector. So the reason I'm saying this is you need to be wise when you're applying, because if you're applying for the wrong subjects, which means subjects that the UK is not desperate to get people for, subjects that the UK does not have the need because they're short of teachers, but it's not just all teaching jobs. No, it is mainly the science subject. It is mainly the sciences that they struggle with. So you need to make sure that you're checking. And there are schools now that are just desperately waiting for staff, looking for people to recruit, which means that, again, if you're ready, as you know, I always say, if you're wanting to travel overseas and you don't have a passport, it is ridiculous. I don't know what you're working up to, because I've already had somebody message me saying, "Oh, Melvis, what are the requirements for teaching jobs in the UK? Blah blah blah." And as we went on, I was like, "Have you got a passport?" No, she hasn't got a passport, and she's a qualified teacher. I was like, "Well, how long does it take in your country to have a passport?" And she said it takes about 6 months. I was like, "Really? So you've been thinking of traveling overseas all this time and yet you've got no passport?" So look, I'm here for implementation. Leave a comment below and say, "Melvis, I will implement. I've got my passport ready." If you've got any other questions, do feel free to leave them again in the comment section, and I'm going to join you there to make sure that we explore what those opportunities are. Are you a teacher right now? Have you got a subject in mind? Which subject do you currently teach? If so, if you want to move to the UK, which subject are you considering? From the information that I've given to you now, talking about the different subjects that are really highly needed, is it going to influence the decisions? What age group do you want to teach? Because also the government has said that this scheme is for all age groups, which means even nursery schools. You can come to the UK as well to, to be in a nursery school if that's what you prefer. They haven't put any age restrictions for the children, but there's a requirement that is very important. If you're coming through this pathway, you need to make sure that you've got no criminal records, because obviously working with children, it's a very delicate thing. You need to make sure that you're of good moral standards, good conduct, you've got no criminal records, again, because it is going to be vital. That is going to be checked before you can actually get the certificate of sponsorship to move to the UK. So that is something that you need to be aware of. The government has also said, the only requirement that the government has said that is a must is that you need to have the ability to speak English fluently. You need to have the ability, obviously, to write in English, and you need to have the ability to read English. That's what they've said. Those are the three. In fact, you must have those, because it's an English country. You're expected to teach in English, and so you're going to be expected, to be good at it. So again, these are things that you need to have in mind in your CV. You need to make these skills to come up. I've already done a video talking about what they're looking for in terms of the skills. So I'm not going to get deep into that in this video. But if you haven't seen that video, if you haven't watched it, you 100% need to watch that video, because the government has stressed on the skills, the actual skills that they want the overseas teachers to have before they're recruited to get to the UK. So you want to watch that video. Also, if you haven't joined my newsletter, you need to check the comment section below. Join the newsletter. If you're keen on getting support from me, obviously you need to be part of my private coaching program. If you check the bio section, obviously on this channel, you can see my details, you see my information, you see a link to my private coaching program. Because like I say, career progression for me is key. When I moved to the UK and studied as an international student, got into my nursing, I was like, look, I need to be the best that I can be. I didn't come here to hang around. I came here because of a better future. I came here to get better opportunities. So if you're in the UK and you're not going for those opportunities, it means that you have wasted an opportunity to be here. It means that you've not made use of the opportunities that are here. And so right now, I support, fellow nurses, colleagues, student nurses. If you're wanting, because healthcare is something that is huge in the UK. I know this video is about teachers. You may be thinking, oh my goodness, what is this about? But the truth is that I have many people in my private coaching program who have been teachers in the UK, and now they're coming into healthcare, because while teaching is great, it does not have the flexibility that healthcare has. If you're a nurse, for example, you can choose to only work weekends. You can choose to work, I don't know, only nights. As a teacher, you haven't got that. Again, you need to be aware of some of these differences. You need to be aware of some of these aspects before you're applying for this job, because as with any opportunity, there are the pros and cons. So you need to assess your own individual situation. Leave a comment in the comment section. How do you feel about this opportunity? Is it for you? Is it not? What is your plan? What is your intention? Have you got any teaching qualifications? Have you not? How do you plan to proceed? How do you intend to proceed? Again, those are all things that you need to ask yourself. Because when an opportunity comes like this, you cannot just submit any kind of CV. You need to make sure that your CV is on slick, your CV is on point. Again, CV templates. Look, let me tell you, when it comes to CV templates, I don't like templates. templates, I don't like them, because people get so fixed on, oh, I need to put my skills, I need to put this, I need to put that. No, your CV needs to reflect who you are as a person. When I'm looking at the CV, I want to see, who is Melvis? What's Melvis all about? Why is Melvis coming into teaching? Has she got experience as a teacher? Has she not? So the main skill in the UK, if you're looking for any job, this is a tip I'm giving you right now, because obviously you watched the video till now, so thank you for being here. The main thing in the UK, if you're ever going for an interview in the UK or looking for any job, the only thing they want to see from you is your willingness to learn. Look, in the UK, having the will to learn, being able to say, look, I have not done this before, but I'm very open to learning. I'm willing to learn what it takes. I'm going to read more about it. I'm going to study about it. I'm going to do courses. I'm going to take mandatory training. That is all that is needed from you. And when you're able to demonstrate that in an interview, not only that, but on your CV, because you need a good CV in order to get shortlisted, you need to make sure that you're demonstrating that particular skill, your willingness to learn, and your eagerness, to be taught. Very important. So again, that's what the government has stressed on some of these things. To make sure that these teachers have, like I said, I've done a whole video on it, so I'm not going to dwell too much onto that. But because you've watched it now, I thought, look, I 100% need to tell you about this. So please don't spend time stressing out on qualified teacher status, because you can move to the UK, and like I said, if it's a government school, you can work for up to 4 years without the need for qualified teacher status. After 4 years, it becomes a legal requirement in government schools. But if you're in a private school and academy, then obviously you don't need it. And obviously, you need to make sure that you're checking the schools, which school is licensed to supply visa sponsorship, which school is actually recruiting from overseas. Because again, I'm going to tell you that schools in some of the most deprived areas in the UK, schools that are in some of the most challenging areas, are the ones that are really, really short, desperate, and will mainly be recruiting from overseas. So you need to make sure that you're looking as well. Where is this school found? What is the performance of the school? Has it got any reviews? I don't want you to just go in blindly and be like, yeah, if I get a job, I do. You need to be careful, because these jobs, look, they come with so many nuances. And also, because you watched till now, I'm going to tell you one more thing. When it comes to the pay, look, the pay isn't too bad, because for me, they're even paying teachers more than nurses. As you know, I'm a nurse myself. I have a private coaching program where I support nurses, so I'm always going to bring nursing in the mix, and why not? So if you're a teacher, obviously you're going to be earning from £28,000 per year, which, look, it is not bad at all, because there is the prospect there for you to keep progressing, for you to keep earning more. If you're unqualified, obviously you're going to start from 20,000, but if you're in London, you have 24,000 or 34,000 pounds. That is a huge amount. It is lovely. I think it's really good, coming straight from overseas and getting into that as a teacher, with the prospects and opportunities for you to grow, for you to keep earning even more. Look, it is an amazing opportunity. It is great. And also, you can move to the UK with your family. That's one thing I like about this particular pathway, because you're going to be able to move with your husband, your wife, your kids. Obviously, they need to be under the age of 18, because if you're 18 years old in the UK, you're already an adult. I know many of us like to feel that, oh, they're kids, they're babies, they are children, but if they're already over 18, they're an adult. But obviously, if you have a child over 18 who's got a disability, so for example, they've got learning disabilities, then you can still bring them with you to the UK, even if they're older than 18. Again, because you've watched till now, this is a good tip for you. Because I know there are many of us that have got kids, that have got learning disabilities, for example, and I think, oh my God, I don't want to leave my child behind. I had a carer from Zimbabwe in my private coaching program, and I remember when she had a successful interview. She had an interview and she got the certificate sponsorship, but all she was worrying about the whole time was, I've got my son. She had a son who was 20 years old. He's got learning disabilities from when he was born, and she was like, I cannot leave my child in Zimbabwe and move to the UK. But because he's obviously got learning disability, she was able to bring him with her to the UK. So he's here now. And that is something that is so amazing. So again, knowing the rules, knowing the laws, knowing the policies in the UK is very important, because you cannot act blindly. You need to make sure that you get the right information. Look, and I'm going to tell you, YouTube, because you're watching this video on YouTube, is a good source of information, but you need to be careful, because you need to also check the government website. You need to make sure that your getting information from people that you know that have reputable sources. And when you get any information, you need to make sure that you double check it again to make sure that it is right. Don't just assume everything. Check the government website. It's incredibly important because every rule always has an exception. There's always the buts, what ifs, and all that. So make sure that you're checking all of that. And I do hope that, you find this helpful. If you've got any comments, leave them in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I do want you to hit subscribe right now. Turn on that notification button because you want to be the first to be notified when I drop a new video on here. If you haven't joined my private coaching program, again, you don't want to be a stranger on here. Join in, get that information directly from me. Also, if you've got a message, you've got a question that you don't want to leave in the comment section, you're like, hey Melvis, I want to just be private about this, you can also use my newsletter. You see my contacts on there. You can message me directly and I'll be able to reply to you, whatever that is. But if you need my support, obviously, like I've said, you need to be part of my private coaching program because that's where I'm able to support. We have weekly live sessions, every Thursdays. We have a nursing community hub where you can just hang out. We've got weekly goals. We've got a success path. We've got online courses. If you want to progress, whether you're a carer, for example, in the UK, want to get into nursing, what is the best pathway for you? Non-clinical healthcare jobs. As you know, there are many non-clinical healthcare jobs in the UK that pay way more than being a nurse, but yet you don't need any experience, you don't need any skills whatsoever. Well, obviously you need knowledge of the job, but you don't need any qualifications at all to do those jobs. So again, knowing what I now know, to be honest, I would probably do things differently, and that's why I'm keen to support fellow colleagues to make sure that they get that information and get there quicker than it took some of us to. So that's why I do these videos. That's why I'm so passionate about these course, and that's why I want to make sure that I'm getting the right information out to you. I do extensive research, obviously, because like I say, I'm somebody who is very keen on policies, processes, procedures, what's going on, why are the laws changing, why aren't the laws changing. Again, you want to make sure that you're part of the family. Join that newsletter, leave the comments in the comment section. I do hope that you're applying for those opportunities, and I do wish you all the very best with the application, and hope that there are going to be many testimonies here of people that have moved as teachers, or whatever you're moving as, carers. Like I say, I've got a program where I support with this, and also with that career progression when you're eventually in the UK, because it's not enough to just get here, It's such hassle to get here. So once you're already here, if you're watching this and you're in the UK, look, you need to make the most of this beautiful country and the opportunities that it obviously brings. So thank you. Keep watching the videos and share with your loved ones, because it's but fair that they have access to this information and know that they don't need qualified teacher status, but they can simply apply for jobs, move to the UK, and then deal with everything else later on. So keep watching the videos. Bye for now.